All right, ladies and gentlemen, brand new book coming out called The Wonder Boy, Luka Dončić and the Curse of Greatness. It comes out March the 25th, and we are joined by the author, Tim MacMahon from ESPN. Tim, great seeing you, man. How you doing?
I am just dandy. It's a pleasure to be here. Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely,
Tim,
man.
we appreciate you stopping in. Well, first, let me start with an easy one. What do you expect tonight?
Listen, we've all seen, I've seen it up close, you guys have watched, when Luka has a channeled fury and rage, anything is possible. I mean, look, you go back as recently as Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, and the Timberwolves, got under his skin by daring to win a game, and he was like, no, we're ending this series now. He had a fan who'd been barking at him in Games 1 and 2, and obviously he did a pretty good job shutting him up then. But Luka channeled, just honed in on that guy from the get-go, and he ripped the soul out of an entire state in the first quarter of a basketball game. I mean, we've seen, this is going to be Game 7 in Phoenix. Luka, obviously, we've only seen one glimpse, really, of his talent since he's been in a Lakers uniform. He's still pretty fresh coming off the calf, the most extended injury absence of his career. But for a man who looks for reasons to get fired up, sometimes creates reasons to get fired up, he's not going to have to look hard. He's not going to have to use his imagination tonight. There will be the full fury of Luka Dončić, and the Mavericks are absolutely bracing for that wrath.
So, Tim, I woke up on a Sunday morning and found out the Lakers had Luka Dončić, and I was, blown away how this could happen. How did this happen?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was as shocked as anybody, and I knew all of the frustrations that the Mavericks organization, particularly Nico Harrison in the front office.
Talk about the frustrations.
Well, it's the stuff that's been reported. It's the conditioning concerns. It's the lack of discipline when it comes to diet, when it comes to conditioning, when it comes to kind of the mundane parts of preparing. The frustration with the what can be petulant behavior. Whether it's going at referees and all that kind of. I mean, he's not a no-maintenance superstar. I don't know, is he the highest maintenance superstar in the league? I don't think so. But, there's certainly, there's some maintenance involved. There's some frustration that, for example, when he had the quote-unquote right wrist injury and they shut him down for 11 days this year, well, they had a similar situation early on in Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison's first year. So, as one person said to me, I can't believe we're doing this bleep again. So there was that type of stuff. Now, all the frustration, all those concerns, they were worried about his body breaking down. It's been 4 calf strains in a span of about 2.5 years. I get it. We all just watched this guy average 34, 10, and 9 and take that franchise to the NBA Finals. I mentioned we just watched this guy close out a Western Conference Finals by absolutely dominating that series. This guy's fresh off of 5 straight first-team All-NBA selections, and he hasn't hit what should be his prime years yet. So I get all the frustrations. I was well aware of those, and I was flabbergasted when this trade was made because to give up on that kind of a talent this early in his career is absolutely unprecedented.
Tim, when you were describing all the frustrations that the Mavericks had with Luka, it reminded me of when Shaq was here. Shaq wasn't in the best shape, but he was Shaq, and every year it gave us a chance to go to the finals. When did it come off the rails? When did it go from, okay, we're frustrated with Luka, with his condition, all the things you just described, to, all right, it's so bad now that we're going to move him? Do you see a tipping point now that you look back on it?
I mean, it was definitely, after Christmas, after that strain of his calf, which they looked at as this is what happens when you don't take care of yourself. This is what happens when you're constantly playing your way into shape and all those sorts of things. And look, there was also, there was stuff behind the scenes. Nico Harrison fired some of the people Luka was closest to in the organization. There was definitely this shift of, let's just be honest. For 6 years, Luka Dončić got his butt kissed on a regular basis.
Sure.
And his tenure in Dallas ended with him getting shanked in the back. I mean, it's not nice, but that's exactly what happened. And there was definitely a shift this year of, the chain of command, almost like a corporate style, chain of command, and you're not in charge anymore and trying to take power away. And then I think the reaction from Luka and maybe some people in his camp, well, if you let a kid eat ice cream for breakfast every day for 6 years, and then you try to make him, eat his vegetables, it's going to be tough.
Okay,
so that was part of it.
You have seen the Mavericks play probably more than anyone I know. Mychal watches them a lot because of Clay. Mychal has a theory about the Mavericks after this trade. Tell Tim your theory. That you think if everybody's healthy.
Oh, yeah. If when they get their 3 big guys back, they're the team to beat for me in the West because they have the best front line, the best rim protection, the best rebounding. They've got shooting. But the key is they got to keep their three big guys healthy.
Well, Nico Harrison, as he told me minutes after the trade was made, defense wins championships. That's definitely his vision. And look, the other thing is, obviously the Mavericks decided they wanted to dump Luka Dončić. But they didn't put him up on the open market. Now, part of that...
Why, by the way?
Yeah.
Well, one, I think it's absolutely reasonable to question and criticize the process that went in the trade. However, he didn't want to give Luka and his agent, Bill Duffy, who is one of the best agents in the game, the power to dictate or influence the potential destinations.
So do you believe that Duffy didn't know, LeBron didn't know, Rich Paul didn't know until the trade was pretty much done?
I do believe that. Now, 2, and I think perhaps even more importantly, he didn't just want to trade Luka Dončić. He wanted to trade Luka for Anthony Davis. When you talk about the people that Nico, the longtime Nike executive, had the tightest relationships with in that role, Kobe. Bryant's number 1, Anthony Davis might be number 2. And listen, this trade was so shocking that the reaction was, I can't believe the Mavericks got so little. And honestly, I understand the reaction, and I've had a lot of executives tell me that, despite the fact that Anthony Davis is a top 75 all-time player.
Right.
He's still one of the most dominant big men in the game. He is in his prime, and we got, Mychal, to your point, we got a 1/2 of a game glimpse. And they didn't have Lively in that game, but they had Gafford, they had Anthony Davis, who, dude, 24, 13,
Yeah, he was
5,
he was
and 3 blocks
he was
in
like
that
Charles
half.
Jefferson in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Like nobody could
Unbelievable.
guard him.
And then when
Yeah.
you put PJ at PJ Washington at the 3, that is absolutely the biggest, most athletic front line in the NBA right now. Now, I'm not sure when or if Gafford gets back this season. It's a pretty significant knee injury. Lively is making good progress. AD is making good progress. They're both getting, they're not sprinting and cutting, but they were getting some work in. I think we're going to get a few weeks at the end of the regular season where you see that vision on the floor, and their hope is, look, they would have loved to have 2 months.
By the way, with Game 79 for the Lakers is at Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back when they got to play Oklahoma City the night before.
Okay.
So it's going to be that's going to be, you'll be there, I'll be there. That's going to be a crazy night in Dallas.
I'll go ahead and make a prediction now. If Luka sits out half of the back-to-back, it ain't going to be the first inning.
Yeah, right.
Now, obviously, if Mark Cuban still owned the team, he wasn't going to trade Luka because they had that bond from the beginning. But did Luka read the tea leaves wrong? Because once Mark gave up controlling interest in the team to the Adelsons and to Patrick Dumont, did Luka not sense that, hey, I can't get away with the things I used to get away with Mark as the owner?
Let me just
with these
add
people?
to that. Did ownership in some way force Nico into this? Or
No.
does he think he made a basketball trade?
Nico managed up. Okay, Nico managed up on this one. Nico talked Patrick
and
Dumont.
while you're telling
into
this story, let me
signing
tell you,
off.
because you know him, I know Nico, Mychal knows him a little bit. Nico is a very easy to like guy. I mean, he's smart. He's his relationships. I mean, 20 years at Nike, building relationships. People in the NBA, until this trade, you wouldn't find anybody saying anything bad about
Right.
Nico. Now he's getting killed. But Nico is a likable guy in that sense, right?
Yeah, and I do believe that part of what happened here was just a breakdown in the relationship between Luka and Nico. And Nico operated the way that he felt was in the best interest of the organization, and like I said, including letting some people go that Luka didn't only like. These were people who helped this kid as a teenager make the massive cultural transition from Europe to the NBA, to America. These people were, close to family to Luka. Let them go, starting with Casey Smith, who's now, one of the most respected trainers in the league, by the way. He's now in New York. That was a couple summers ago, and then their strength coach, their massage therapist. There's been other people, but I think the relationship breaking down was a big part of this, or at least a significant part of this. But then this was a basketball trade by Nico, and he thinks they gave themselves a better chance to win now. And as he says, win now and win in the future, he defines the future as 3 to 4 years, where their belief was Luka was going to break down. But if they're wrong, you gave up a decade-plus runway with one of the best players in the game.
Luka's always been the alpha male whenever he's picked up a basketball, and we saw a glimpse of it the other night in Denver, and he just took over the game, even with LeBron on the floor. From what we saw in Denver, do you think that Luka's going to continue where, LeBron's over there, but I'm in charge now? Is that Luka now showed up on Denver? He's going to stay?
I don't think anybody should have any concerns about the fit between Luka and LeBron. We're talking about two basketball geniuses. These guys will figure that out. Plus, LeBron has seen the benefits. Luka's the best look-ahead passer in the league.
Right.
And as LeBron said, he's a natural-born wide receiver.
And LeBron and Jokic might be the other two right behind him in that game we saw Saturday.
But LeBron's figured out he runs. Luka's going to hit him in stride. He's going to get a lot of dunks. He's going to get a lot of late lobs. They'll figure that. Luka's fit on the roster is not the concern. Whether Luka is fit enough to, maintain that level of play, stay healthy. Well, if he's healthy, he's going to be awesome. Can he stay healthy? That's the concern. And as much as, I do think this is a slap in the face. If anything is going to get him to lock in as far as diet, condition, all the stuff that he's been hammered on, this trade will do it. I just don't know. That's a year-round thing. You can't just decide mid-season, well, I'm really going to be committed.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, there were pictures of Luka, coming out after he was training where he looked. Remember those? He looked really svelte, and really in shape. Yeah. I guess he let it go. Tim, the one thing I'm more curious about than anything from you is Mychal and I have been around the league for 20-plus years. I am stunned at the way the Mavericks have treated him. That he's out the door.
Shocking, shameful.
That Patrick Dumont is ripping him. That Nico, who is a pretty upbeat, positive guy, is saying he wasn't right for our culture. What's your take on that? Why would the Mavericks, you won't find anybody saying bad things about Anthony Davis?
No.
Why are they saying so many bad things about Luka?
Well, look, the only way to rationalize the trade is to. Those are the honest facts. You can't say we don't think he's good at basketball. I mean, seriously, right. How else does this trade make sense into spelling out that, look, we were concerned about the conditioning, the culture, the body breaking down, all those kind of things. Now, I do think kind of the constant heaping on, and Patrick Dumont, who's been in the NBA for less than a year.
5 minutes,
piling on, and also when, I know you guys love Shaq, but when you're bringing up these disciplined stars of the past, probably don't bring up the guy who would show up in bad shape and play his way into shape every single season.
Right.
Also, if you're going to do that and you're hoping to get a Dallas fan base to calm down, the arena is right off of Nowitzki Way. There's a 24-foot tall statue of this guy named Dirk Nowitzki. Pretty good as far as diet, conditioning, discipline. Yep. You might want to throw him into that conversation. Honestly, the interview Patrick Dumont did with the Dallas Morning News was one of the worst pieces of PR I've seen.
Right.
Just terrible.
I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
I still don't get it.
Yeah. The book is called The Wonder Boy, Luka Dončić and the Curse of Greatness. March 25th is the release date. Tim McMahon is with us. Tim, tell us something. You've obviously done all kinds of... Does he like the nickname The Wonder Boy? Is that something he embraces? Tell us something fun about Luka.
The Wonder Boy, it was El Nino Maravilla. It goes back to his days playing for Real Madrid. And, I made a trip to Slovenia as part of the research for this book. The one thing that I will say I think does come through in this book is, for all you can say he's high maintenance, you can criticize the discipline, all the things we've been talking about. There is a strong sense of loyalty from Luka Dončić, and that shows up every single summer when he's playing for the Slovenian national team. Every other guy in the league, even the Jokic's, the guys who are, very proud and patriotic and not clearly have to carry their national teams, it is a case-by-case basis. The fact Luka plays for the Slovenian national team every single summer is a strong indication of the loyalty that he has. Also, the fact that he plays for the Slovenian national team at all, because there was a time when there was a whole lot of discussion, and it was mainly in the media, but he had not played for Slovenia's national program growing up. He had a Spanish passport.
Because he was in Spain. Yeah.
He had a Spanish passport. Spain, as we all know, is an international basketball powerhouse. There was some discussion of maybe even Serbia, but for Luka, it was never a question.
A 25-year-old Luka, this is strange. You got Jokic, Kobe, LeBron, Jordan. To my knowledge, I don't think those guys had a book written about him at 25 years of age, not even halfway through their careers. Why about Luka at this stage of his career when he's got so much more basketball left?
I have one daughter in college now, another one in a couple of years, and twin boys who are in sixth grade.
There you go.
No, really, and I saw this is not a biography on Luka, right? And kind of the framing of the book is the pressure on a franchise when you draft a prodigy through the prism of Luka and the Dallas Mavericks. And I've been working on this for a few years, and I'll be honest with you. I did think as I started this the process, and even midway through last season, I thought there was a pretty good chance this would end with Luka Dončić being traded from the Dallas Mavericks.
Really?
But because of the reasons that we see Kawhi Leonard get traded from the San Antonio.
Okay.
Well, not even that. That we saw Anthony Davis get traded from the Pelicans. I thought, because think of all the missteps the Mavericks made along the way. The Porzingis trade blew up in their face. They completely bungled the Jalen Brunson situation.
Right.
We get in all this. Like the Kyrie thing, that could have gone sideways. What if the Lakers go after Kyrie that summer and have him with a decision to make? There's a sliding door moment where Kyrie ends up in L.A. and Luka's stuck with no co-star and picks out the door. Last year, if those deals don't work and they flop in the first round, there was a real possibility of Luka making a difficult decision of we don't really have a chance to contend here. Do I need to move on? That didn't happen. So I thought a possibility of a Luka trade was certainly on the table. And look, when they've tanked at the end of the season a couple years ago to protect a top 10 protected pick,
Right.
They're
not the only team that's ever done that.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm saying when you have a superstar of that caliber, there was absolutely fear within the organization. We better fix this. As loyal as he is, you don't want to slap him in the face with reasons that he might be better off leaving. The shock is the plot twist that the Mavericks are the ones who decided to break up with him. It was an
that's
absolute
the fascinating
shock.
part about this. I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah. Hey, so I've got a lawn chair out on Figueroa right now because I'm getting ready for a parade. What are the odds that Luka, with LeBron, lead the Lakers to an NBA championship this year?
This year, I think it will be tough. I think the odds
Not
are
impossible, though.
not impossible. I think, look, there's only 6 or 8 teams that have any hope. I think the Lakers are one of those 6 to 8 teams. I think it's a single-digit chance. We all know what they need. They need to go get them a big-time rim-running, rim-protecting, lob-catching,
No, they don't.
rebounding big. Yes, they do.
No, they don't. The Warriors didn't have that when they won all those titles.
The Warriors also weren't built around the best pick-and-roll player in the league and a guy that you got to protect on the defensive end. Luka Dončić needs that type of dominant role player big. And the Lakers obviously agreed.
Yeah, they did try to do it.
And I do believe they will get that guy this summer. Now, can they, playing small ball with Jackson Hayes, playing that role for however many minutes per game, and then playing, like with Dorian Finney-Smith, playing the 5, the scrambling style we saw against the Nuggets. I'm not going to tell you they have no chance, but if they get a legit, rim-running, rim-protecting big over the summer, then I think they're going to have a pretty solid chance.
Excellent. Well, listen, Tim, thank you so much for
Tim, this is great.
Cannot wait to read the book. The Wonder Boy, Luka Dončić, and the Curse of Greatness. It is available to everybody on March the 25th. Great meeting you. I hear you on the Hoops Collective podcast all the time with Brian, so it's nice to meet you in person.
Will you tell Bontemps to cheer up a little bit?
No, I'll tell him to shut up. I don't tell him to cheer up. I just say shut up, Bontemps.
There you go. I like that.
By the way, Tim gives us 0 chance to win the title this year. None. Yeah.
You're talking about Bontemps, the urine-stained, urine-soaked wet blanket.
All right. Hey, Tim,